Hey, it's Dave Wyman from Wyman and Bob. Time for Football 101. Lot of depressed Seahawks fans. Seahawks starting off 1-2. Just a really bad loss in Minnesota. And, there's lots of things that we could get into as far as, what happened defensively. But one of the things that I noticed was that the Minnesota Vikings were really trying to cut the running plays to the backside. And so what that means is you're just flowing one side and then the running back cuts it back to the backside of the defense. And let's take a look. This kind of developed last week, right at the beginning of the fourth quarter. And this is the 60-yard touchdown run by Derrick Henry. And you can see the alignment here. And actually they have it, the heavy side is on this side, and the play starts this way. So they're starting to the weak side, and then Derrick Henry ends up cutting it back. But just want to take a look at this defense, and one of the things that has been sort of a systemic problem as far as their run defense. So this is as the play has started, and here's Jamal Adams right here. He came underneath the block of A.J. Brown right there. And then, a lot of people were saying, well, he created that space and that he shouldn't have, gone all the way upfield. I would say this for him, that you sort of have to settle and square your shoulders instead of just trying to dip underneath him. And so he did kind of create, a big gap right here for Trey Flowers to come up. And look, Trey, you could say probably should have made that tackle, but this is a pretty big area right here for him to do a solo tackle of Derrick Henry. The other thing is, and we'll look at it in the next clip here, is that the defense gets entirely washed down. So, they were, in that last clip, there was probably everybody except for Quandre Diggs, who is the safety that's deep, and Trey Flowers was on the other side of the hash marks right here. So, they got this huge wash down this way, as far as all of the defense. So it just left, Trey Flowers and Quandre Diggs in a tough spot. You just made a huge gap for them, a big part of the field for a really good running back. And so a lot of this has to do with guys staying square. As far as, and here's Henry off to the races right there. Quandre Diggs didn't have much of a chance, but, what I mean by that is just staying square to the line of scrimmage and not turning your shoulders and running and, getting pushed down. So, again, it looked like, yes, Jamal Adams was in the area. Yes, Quandre Diggs could have made a tackle. Trey Flowers could have made a tackle, but the rest of the defense could have sort of helped them out just because, they could have constricted how far that they got pushed and washed down to the other side of the field. So, I think what happened with Minnesota is they saw this on film and they saw that, look, they're turning their shoulders, they're running, they're really chasing, flow as far as the run game goes. And this is at the beginning of the first quarter, and this is a 7-yard run right here. And what it ends up being is what we used to call a bend play. And it's pretty old school because they've got, they got a tight end here. The receiver they bring in tight. There's a receiver up here, and then they got a fullback in C.J. Ham in the backfield, and and then this is Alexander Mattison, who ran for 112 yards against the Seahawks. He ran for 112 last year here at Lumen Field because Dalvin Cook got hurt, and just in this situation he filled in really nicely. But they blocked really well, but the Seahawks could really do some things to help themselves, but. As far as the play, it's called a bend play, which starts this way, and then it bends back to the weak side, and the fullback does the same thing. And, Bobby Wagner actually plays this pretty well, but it's just kind of an old school out of I formation is what you see here. And these guys execute really well. And here we go. This is the bend here. They were lined up, the fullback up here. He was lined up here, started here, and then cuts it back, and he's going to block Bobby. And then there's Alexander Mattison, shooting through that backside gap right there. Why is there such a huge gap there? Okay, and that's really what the issue is to me. And the reason is, and I mentioned this about staying square, your shoulders to the line of scrimmage. Look at both of the defensive linemen. They have basically turned their shoulders and made the block for those offensive linemen. So, even though they're on the backside originally of the play because flow goes away from them, you still have to be disciplined and you still have to constrict gaps and stay square to the line of scrimmage. And both of those guys you can see here, they have turned their shoulders sideways. We call that opening the gate. So as taking on a blocker, you want to be square with your blocker. You don't want to turn your shoulders because that just makes the block for them. And so both of these defensive linemen right here made that block pretty easy. This is Brian Monet right here, and he does a pretty good job of just bench pressing the center all the way back into the backfield, but his vision wasn't great. He didn't see the running back. He never saw him, on either side bounce out just because he was so obsessed with just beating this guy, which I'll take that. I'll take Brian Monet. Anytime you get a center 4 yards back into the backfield, that's a good thing. But, got to at one point come off this block and try to make that tackle. I don't really think it was on him, but so let's see how this develops. Bobby takes on this C.J. Ham, the blocker right there, and comes off. But, you see these guys still with their shoulders turned, and now this thing is out the gate. And it's not a huge run. It's a 7-yard run. But, this wasn't the biggest problem. Really, I thought the biggest problem was pass coverage and, just not being able to figure out, whether to drop deep or jump underneath stuff. And there was a lot of that, of jumping some of the underneath stuff. But, you can just see how, these guys on the backside kind of exacerbated the situation there by turning their shoulders. And that's just something that they'll work on during the week and hopefully get that right, because the running game that's coming in here is far better than Minnesota or Tennessee, in my opinion. The San Francisco 49ers are very technical, run the ball really well. So they're going to have to really be on it and work on some of these little things like turning your shoulders at the line of scrimmage.